So, do single guys give off a certain scent? Can women smell the difference between a guy who's faithful and a guy who cheats? Well, a new study says yes, and Dr. Mark Anderson joins us now to explain it all. We're talking about pheromones, aren't we, Doctor?
Well, pheromones, and also about this study actually studied oxytocin. So what they did is they took a group of men that were single and a group of men that were either in a relationship or married, and they administered either a placebo or some oxytocin as a nasal spray, and they studied how close these men would allow women to get to them. And the men that were in relationships, after administered the oxytocin, didn't let the women get as close to them as the single guys did. So they kept their bubble, they kept their space.
Okay, and then, so oxytocin, explain exactly what it is and why it develops these bonds.
Oxytocin is a hormone that is produced by our anterior pituitary gland, and most people would probably hear about it or know about it from obstetrical purposes, where they give it to women to induce labor and things like that. So both men and women secrete it. Why the men who are in relationships responded to it differently, we don't know, but they extended the research off prairie dogs, and then they'd seen this behavior in prairie dogs, and so then they studied it in humans. So.
Well, we don't have any prairie dogs, but we do have the GMT players, which are equally as exciting and fun. So single guy Shane, I want you to come into the picture. He's an actual real single guy, not just an actor. And so he's standing there, he's hanging out, and then female approaches, and this will be Carla. Now, when Carla approaches for conversation, single guy Shane doesn't back up.
Nope, allows him to have a little bit more intimacy, and one could argue then he gets to throw off his new cologne that he's trying.
That Panther, perhaps. Panther. And this is where you can actually smell. You say females can smell.
Well, you know, the theory would be that it's not that this is where within the distance where they could pick up pheromones.
Okay.
That, you know, pheromones are going to be secreted, and that's the one that either attracts you or not attracts you to an individual. And maybe that extra distance between the married guy keeps them far enough out that they don't, you know, pick up on the female's pheromones.
Okay, so let's now say that single guy Shane just got married. And Carla, we're going to have you exit again, because if he was now married or in a relationship and this oxytocin was present, when Carla comes into the picture, let's see what Shane does. Oh, she gets close, and he does the backup. He does the lean.
He keeps his bubble, keeps his space.
I think a lot of women are going to want to squirt this hormone up their guys' noses before they leave the house.
They said maybe the monogamy hormone rather than the sex hormone.
Exactly.
But fortunately for us guys, it's not commercially available yet.
It's not commercially available. Okay, so it's a bonding hormone, obviously.
It is, and so oxytocin is the other place that you hear about a lot of it is when a woman's breastfeeding her infant. Large amounts of oxytocin are released, and it's been studied that is the bonding hormone that makes the mothers and their offspring have those tight emotional bonds.
Okay.
And so we know it plays into both now male-female relationships, and it's just an example of how our behaviors can be influenced by hormonal influences. So cues that go on that we take for granted that are subconscious are being influenced by these hormone levels all the time.
So does the same work for women as far as letting men get into their bubble? Could you observe someone and be able to tell what their relationship was just by how close they're speaking to each other?
Possibly. I mean, they haven't done that study, but if you
want to do that study,
extend it the other way and see if the women kind of back up, or if they let a strange man into their area.
And you think that we're more affected by environment than we actually realize. We talked about seasonal affective disorder, less sunlight, shorter days. People are obviously experiencing more levels of depression during this time of the year. We're affected by everything around us.
That's right. So, I mean, we're creatures of nature, so the day-night cycles affect us, the seasonal cycles affect us. People do get the blues around the wintertime because of the shorter days. You know, we talked earlier about studies that show that men, when they have a child brought into the home, i.e. their wife has given birth and they bring that small child, they'll have drops in their testosterone levels from that. So we do have physiologic change that is in response to our environmental cues.
Okay, so what's the takeaway for GMT viewers today when it comes to oxytocin and being able to sniff out a single guy or a married guy?
Well, you know, if you're one of the females, you could watch your spouse, and if they're letting them get you know, some strange or single female get in that zone, you might need to reevaluate that relationship.
Well, you're going to be keeping eyes on that today. Dr. Mark Anderson, thank you so much for having some fun with us on GMT with this study.